All right, this is homework 6.2, and I'm trying a new video solution to see if it uploads better. Please let me know if it does or does not. Here we are solving these square root equations, and I'm just going to do a few of them with you. This first one is an example of the very hard kind. What makes it hard is that there are two square roots plus another constant. The first step is to isolate the square root, and one of the square roots is already isolated. So we're going to start right away by squaring both sides. When we square both sides, we have to recognize that this side is a binomial because there's a minus in the middle. So when we square it, we have to square the whole side, otherwise they wouldn't be equal. And this is a binomial. We have a shortcut for squaring binomials. We square the first one. -2 times -2 is 4. Then we multiply these two together and double it. -2 times negative square root of 6 minus x is positive 2 square root of 6 minus x. Doubled is plus 4 times the square root of 6 minus x. We multiplied these two together and then doubled it. And last, we're going to square the second term of the binomial, and that will cancel out the square root, and what we end up with is plus 6 minus x. On the other side, we square the square root, which cancels out, and we get -2 minus 9x. Okay. Now we need to isolate the square root. So we're going to move the 4 over, move the 6 over, -4 minus 6, and add the x. And so what we end up getting is 4 square root of 6 minus x equals -12 minus 8x. We're going to divide by 4. -3 minus 2x. And now we have the square root isolated again. Since we have the square root isolated, we're going to square both sides. The left side is just the square root. The right side, again, is a binomial because there's two things separated by a subtraction. So we need to square that. 6 minus x equals, same binomial trick. We square the first one. We multiply these two together. That's positive 6x, and double it. That's 12x. And then we square the last one. This is a quadratic. We can tell because there's an x squared. So we need to make everything equal to 0. So we want the x squared to be positive, so I'm going to add x and subtract 6 on both sides. So we get 4x squared plus 13x plus 3 equals 0. This can be factored, it looks like to me. So let's see, we've got 4x and x plus 3 plus 1 equals 0. That adds up to 13x. And so x equals -1/4. That's what when we plug in -1/4 here, 4 times -1/4 is -1. -1 plus 1 is 0. And x equals -3. Now at the end of square root equations, we need to go back in and check our solutions and make sure they work. I'm going to start with -3 because it's a little bit easier to check. When we plug in -3, 6 minus -3 is positive 9. Minus a negative is adding, so 6 plus 3 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. -2 minus 3 is -5. On the other side, -9 times -3 is positive 27. -2 plus 27 is 25. Square root of 25 is 5. These are not equal to each other. -3 is an extraneous solution. I don't really want to deal with the -1/4, so I'm just going to plug it in to a calculator. -2 minus square root of 6 minus -1/4. And that's equal to -4.5. On the other side, we have square root of -2 minus 9 times -1/4. And there we get 0.5. Neither of these worked. They were both extraneous solutions, and so the answer is no solutions. Okay. I'll do the one right below it. This one is a much easier one. There's only one square root. So the first step is to isolate the square root. So we're going to subtract 9 and get 4. Square root of p over 6 is 4. Once we have the square root isolated, we're going to square both sides. This is just a monomial, so there's no squaring a binomial going on here. P over 6, the square root canceled out, equals 16. And the last step is to multiply by 6 to get rid of the dividing by 6. So we multiply by 6, and we get P equals 96. When we check our answer, 96 divided by 6 is 16. The square root of 16 is 4. 9 plus 4 is 13, and so it works. All right, we'll do one more. Let's see. Number 6 here is a good in-between mix. There's only one square root, but there is a binomial. So when we square both sides, we have to recognize that this makes it a binomial. And so when we square both sides, we have to square the whole side. And we'll do our square binomial trick. Square the first one, b squared. Multiply these two together and double it. Square the last one. Over here, the square root cancels out, and we get 10 minus b. This is a quadratic, and so we are trying to get everything equal to 0. I'm going to add b and subtract 10 to make it equal 0. B squared minus 7b equals 6, plus 6, jk, equals 0. This can be factored. B minus 6 times b minus 1 equals 0. B is 1 or 6. When I plug it in, 6 minus 4 is 2. 10 minus 6 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. 6 works. When I plug in 1 minus 4 is negative 3. 10 minus 1 is 9. Square root of 9 is positive 3, and those are not equal. So b equals 1 is an extraneous solution. So b equals 6 is the only solution. All right. Hopefully that helps. Good luck on the rest of your homework.